Good evening. 2 pilots killed and more than 40 other people hospitalized after an Air Canada Express jet from Montreal crashed into a fire truck just seconds after landing at LaGuardia Airport in New York. Video of the collision shows the speed and force of the impact. Audio from air traffic controllers shows the actions taken in the moments leading up to the fatal crash. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin has the latest.
Parts of the mangled cockpit hang from the Air Canada Express wreckage as investigators piece together the cause of the collision.
Man, that wasn't good to watch.
Chilling audio from the air control tower reveals some of the communications leading up to the crash and its horrifying aftermath.
Man, that wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
At around 11:40 p.m. Sunday, a Port Authority fire truck is responding to another emergency. Another plane reporting odor in the cabin.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower, requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, crossing 4 at Delta.
Stop, Truck 1. Stop. Stop, Truck 1. Stop.
The CRJ 900, operated by Jazz Aviation, landing at LaGuardia, smashes nose first into the truck of the airport's runway 4.
Sadly, the 2 pilots are confirmed deceased, and notifications are being made by Air Canada's care team at this time.
One of those pilots was Antoine Forêt from Coteau-du-Lac, Quebec. A flight attendant was found nearly 100 meters from the plane, still strapped in her jump seat that was ripped from the airplane. CTV News has confirmed that her name is Solange Tremblay and that she was undergoing surgery.
We're fully supporting the relevant investigative authorities in their investigation to learn everything we can about these events.
Dozens of passengers were treated and released, but others are in serious condition in hospital.
Everybody's screaming. Pretty quickly, we didn't have any directions because the pilot's cabin had been destroyed. So
he smashed his face into the seat in front of him, broke his glasses.
Sarah Dorner's husband, a professor at Montreal's Polytechnic Institute, was on board.
And he smelled gas, so he was encouraging people to just slide down, go down the wing. He was there to catch them.
Canada's National Transportation Safety Board has also dispatched a team of investigators to assist in the probe. Genevieve Beauchemin, CTV News, Montreal.
For most of the day, LaGuardia was closed, flights only resuming mid-afternoon. That meant travel disruptions for thousands of passengers trying to get to or connections through New York. The effects are being felt here at home. Our Sean Leithong is live tonight at Pearson Airport with more from travelers. Sean.
Well, Michelle and Nathan, 13 flights this morning were to be direct to LaGuardia Airport. Those were all canceled. One this afternoon was canceled. That was to be an Air Canada Jazz flight. But flights have resumed. We've had a number take off in the last little while, at least 3 from Pearson and 1 within the next half hour. I spoke to some travelers today who were destined to go to the United States, and one that was going through LaGuardia, just asking them how they felt knowing what had happened today. Many saying that they weren't afraid of flying, but expressed sorrow for this grave incident.
I mean, it's very tough. I mean, I think anybody who goes through that kind of thing, these are people that they work with, and especially that's a smaller crew, the Jazz team. So I think that for them, there's a highly likely that they have worked with them in the past.
It's unfortunate. It's scary. As you mentioned, it's definitely not common. So that's the only good thing we can say about it. It's a horrible situation, and we hope it shouldn't happen again.
It sounds like human error, but it sounds like it's caused from lack of staffing, maybe. Stressful situation for sure.
Definitely a tragedy. Shouldn't have happened. They'll have to look into the communication between ground crew and the air traffic controllers.
I spoke to a couple of passengers just a little while ago who were destined for Newark, and they said it did sound strange and thought of it as a freak incident. Also looking back to just 1 year ago when there was a crash in February of 2025 here at Pearson. Reporting live, I'm Sean Leithong. Nathan and Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. And from one Toronto airport to another, there's new insight tonight on the Ford government's plans to take control of Toronto Island Airport lands to accommodate jets. Just ahead, the legislation and expansion plans, along with the criticism. We have more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. Here's a live shot of the city. We still have some sunlight. A bit of a cool down, though, is coming, and that cool down will
also join us tomorrow morning. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current conditions, and I know we're in the first week of spring, but it doesn't quite feel like it yet.
No, not quite yet, Nathan, although we are heading in the right direction. There's at least one day this week where I think you're going to like the temperature story. But today, it's been all about below seasonal temperatures and some snow. We had quite a bit of it earlier this afternoon. Now we continue to see flurries, especially for the west end of the GTA. These are going to taper off through the evening hours. Winds will settle down, but the temperature is going to drop as well. We're at +1 this hour at Pearson Airport. Those winds today have been coming from a northwest direction, so that has ushered in some of the cooler air. Still gusting upwards of 40 kilometers per hour. Calmer winds once we move past midnight, clearer skies. But look at that overnight low, -6 degrees, and it's going to feel more like -8 as we're waking up tomorrow morning. That's a little chilly for this point in the month of March. We'll take you through the forecast for the next 7 days ahead coming up. But for now, Michelle, I'm going to send it over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Well, we now know how the province plans to take control of Billy Bishop Airport, something the Premier confirmed this morning he will be moving forward with.
But not everyone believes it's the best way forward. CTV's Mike Walker is live tonight with more details. Mike.
Well, Nathan, the Ford government will soon introduce legislation to take over city-owned land at Billy Bishop Airport. But community advocates and some politicians at City Hall are calling for more public consultation and transparency. The Ford government is paving the way for jets to take off from Billy Bishop Airport, set to table legislation that would seize the city's ownership of the airport lands.
It's an airport for the people of Canada and Ontario. That's the difference. That's why we're taking it over.
The move would see the province take over Toronto's spot in a three-way agreement with the federal government and Port Authority that governs the airport. The Ford government intends to declare the city's island airport a special economic zone, a designation that allows environmental and other laws to be suspended.
To streamline approvals while maintaining strong safety and environmental protections.
The opposition calls it a power grab and distraction.
I don't know why this Premier is so obsessed with downtown Toronto and Bay Street, but he clearly is, because nobody else benefits from an expansion of Billy Bishop Airport.
The Port Authority is on board with expanding the runway for bigger planes.
Responding to population growth and rising aviation demand, protecting access to northern and remote communities, strengthening tourism and trade.
A plan advocates and residents have been speaking out against for years, citing concerns over excessive noise and pollution.
Jets would dominate our waterfront.
Advocacy group No Jets TO is calling on the government to abandon its plans.
What he's doing is he's stripping away our rights, our environmental rights and protections from the island airport, and trying to ram jets down Torontonians' throats without giving us a say in the matter.
Mayor Olivia Chow issued a statement calling on the provincial and federal governments to be transparent about its plans for the airport. Torontonians must have a say over the future of their waterfront. Unilateral action to grab city land without consulting Torontonians is not acceptable to people. A sentiment echoed by waterfront residents and advocacy group Parks Not Planes.
If anybody's going to introduce jets to the island airport, it's going to be the federal government. Let's get the reports done. Let's get the impact assessments done that the federal government requires.
There has been fierce opposition at City Hall. Deputy Mayor Ozma Malik will be introducing a motion at City Council this week calling for Council to oppose any unilateral expropriation of city land by the provincial and federal governments.
They don't want to create more jobs. They don't want to create economic development. They don't want to create a competitive environment and convenience for the people of Toronto.
Ford says Toronto will be fairly compensated for any lost revenue. And the Premier has said that compensation would be around $5 million annually. Asked about a timeline to extend the runway, the Transportation Minister said that construction will happen over the next couple of years. Reporting live on Mike Walker, Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. And still with provincial politics, members of the Ontario legislature returned to Queen's Park today for the first time in more than 100 days.
The Premier returned to protests and controversy after an extended winter break. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris is live there tonight with more on the first day back. Siobhan, how'd it go?
Really, really busy. The running shoes were on. Doug Ford has put so much into the Queen's Park machine the last few days, everything from talking about a new convention center and an OSAP overhaul. But it was the move to block access to his cell phone that pulled all the focus on day one.
For the first time in 102 days, MPPs from across Ontario are back in the halls of Queen's Park. The opposition making noise about an overhaul of freedom of information laws that will put the Premier's cell phone records out of reach.
They are taking us backwards, Speaker, in accountability and transparency. So I would ask the Premier to explain why is his government taking away the people's right to see how decisions are made and who is benefiting?
I'll tell you what's inside these phone calls.
Doug Ford has been clear. Blocking access to his phone is behind the changes. They come after the courts found he had to turn records over. He maintains Ontario is just getting in line with Ottawa.
There's two groups that are concerned about it. It's the opposition that they should talk to their federal partners, and the media. Everyone else is focused on something else.
The Green Party leader calls the Premier's justification
hogwash.
New Democrats tried to use a speaker's warrant to compel the Premier to share his records, but it's a move that goes nowhere. The ask is non-binding.
It's not my decision. I act on behalf of the House, and if the House directs me to issue a warrant, then I would.
Liberals argue the Premier's trying to duck accountability on other fronts.
After 8 long years, does the Premier really think he can hide from his record of making life harder for Ontario families?
Fraser pointed to the front lawn of Queen's Park as evidence. Parents of kids with autism pleading for more supports at home and at school. Without enough classroom help, this mom has had to quit her job to stay home with her son.
They have to do better. This is a never-ending fight, and that I'm trying to get Owen into a specialized classroom in the fall, but we're facing barriers, red tape.
The education minister says he empathizes.
We're going to make sure that we continue on this mission of revamping and re-energizing our school system so that it is the absolute best.
There's no decision yet on whether Ontario will eliminate school board trustees. Minister Calandra says he'll make recommendations to Cabinet very soon and that there will be significant change. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. Still ahead, owners of a Midtown public pickleball court are causing a racket after being served with a $500,000 property tax bill. The demand for fair play coming up.
Police are searching for 3 suspects following a shooting in North York. This happened just before 10 last night near Jane and Shepherd. The victim was taken to hospital with serious but non-life-threatening injuries. Police say 3 suspects were spotted running from the scene, but they've not provided any descriptions at this point. Investigators are asking anyone with details to come forward.
A driver was seriously injured in a crash on Highway 403 in Mississauga this afternoon. The crash happened in the westbound lanes of the highway near Ontario just after 1 p.m. OPP say there was only 1 person in the vehicle and they were rushed to hospital with critical injuries, but they're now in stable condition and expected to survive. The cause of the crash is not clear. The westbound lanes of the highway were closed for several hours, but have since reopened. And a 16-year-old boy is in hospital after being struck by a vehicle in Mississauga. Peel paramedics were called to the QEW and Ontario area shortly after 8 this morning for reports of someone being struck by a vehicle. The victim was taken to a trauma center in serious condition.
And 3 people were taken to hospital after a vehicle smashed into a building in Richmond Hill. It happened around 12:45 on Yonge Street near Weldrick Road. The driver of the vehicle and 2 other people were taken to hospital with minor injuries. The cause is still under investigation. Police in Peel Region unveiled the results of an investigation into violent carjackings earlier this year.
Dubbed Project Stratus, police say it's evidence they're making a significant dent in auto-related crimes. CTV's John Musselman reports.
Watch the white car in the middle of your screen. This is police video from Durham Region, but it shows exactly what police in Peel and Toronto are also dealing with. Carjackers targeting civilians in public places and stealing their vehicle.
So the suspects would locate the vehicles that they wanted to target in a parking lot, wait for the people to come back to the vehicle, and then they accosted them, pointed firearms at them. No injuries to any of the victims, but they pointed firearms at them and stole their keys and stole their cars.
Today at Peel Regional Police Headquarters, officials announced they have arrested 6 people in what they describe as a violent criminal network targeting luxury vehicles. It's alleged the accused would store the cars, usually Mercedes-Benz, revind them, and then secretly ship them to Africa. The value of the cars recovered is estimated at $800,000. 2 of the people were arrested at Pearson International Airport as they attempted to board a flight to Ghana.
It's an example of seamless cooperation that has focused on auto theft, armed robberies, armed carjackings, and in this case, the export of stolen vehicles.
So we target them nationally, and then we'll deploy Border Services officers, whether it's here in Toronto or in Montreal, wherever the last port of embarkation is. We can actually pull those containers off and do a full examination to make sure that the goods are legitimate.
In Peel Region, police say they are making a significant dent in these crimes in the past 12 months. Auto theft is down 20%, carjacking's down 79%. And so far this year, more than 10 million worth of stolen vehicles have been recovered. Police also seized 2 replica handguns in this investigation. John Musselman, CTV News.
Drivers are continuing to feel pain at the pumps in the GTA as the war in the Middle East continues. Gas prices rose 6 cents on Sunday, meaning drivers across the GTA are paying an average of roughly $1.78 a liter for regular at most stations. That's the highest price for gas in nearly 2 years. And there's a road closure to tell you about next. It's a thoroughfare used by East York residents, but one that will now be shut down for nearly 2 years, all in preparation for the Ontario line.
CTV's Janice Golding has more from Thorncliffe Park.
Road's closed. Closed. No.
Since 7 a.m., Clay has been busy turning people away on Beth Nielsen Drive.
Yeah, I've been getting cussed at all day.
And the frustration not ending anytime soon. Beth Nielsen will be closed between Wicksteed Avenue and Patmore Drive until late 2027.
No. You don't like it? Don't like it. Really don't like it. But why so long time?
If, like this man, you're wondering why, well, it's because work has begun on a new underpass that will go beneath the Ontario line. Metrolink says the underpass will allow cars, cyclists, and pedestrians to move safely below while allowing Ontario line trains to travel overhead at ground level.
Oh, okay. Ontario line? Oh.
Once completed, the 15-stop transit line will run from Exhibition Place all the way to Line 5 Eglinton at Don Mills, and Metrolink's promises the future Thorncliffe Park station, located southwest of the future underpass, will bring subway service within walking distance to 12,800 residents for the first time.
No, can't go through. Gotta turn around.
But for now, the road closure in this Thorncliffe Park area will cause some delays.
Half an hour. On foot. Yeah.
It's a little bit because I'm going over there to St. Michael's and it's a wheel trans.
It is an inconvenience because Don Mills is bad too, so.
Still, many say they understand and they're trying to make the best of it now that they know about the detour.
I'll just take another route.
5 minutes, not a big deal.
The simple answer is no.
It's good for my legs.
It's okay, but I wish they would have put some sign all the way.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of signs.
I ignored all of that.
Not till next year, buddy.
Clay says he just hopes people can be more understanding than they were today on day one of the road closure.
2 or 3 cars would not move, just came right up to me, very, very close, wouldn't back up and just parked there. So we had to stand off for about 10 to 15 minutes.
Because Metrolink says this detour will run right until the end of next year. Janice Golding, CTV News.
We have more now on our top story, the fatal crash involving an Air Canada jet at New York's LaGuardia Airport.
The crash is having a ripple effect, impacting not only the victims, but the public at large. CTV's John Venevali-Rao reports on the travel implications beyond New York.
The shutdown of LaGuardia, impacting flights up and down the U.S. Northeast, with the airport on average handling more than 90,000 passengers and 900 flights every day. The closure coming at a tough time for many U.S. travelers, already facing huge delays in lineups at airports across the country.
This is insane. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this.
This the result of a shortage of TSA screeners, many working without pay amid a government partial shutdown. The U.S. president deploying ICE agents today to help ease some of the travel turmoil.
This is probably the worst that we've ever experienced in our 20 years of traveling.
And the crash now adding to concerns about America's air traffic control system being understaffed and its employees overworked. There's been a series of incidents in recent years, including a deadly mid-air collision. And the country's been facing a shortage of around 3,000 air traffic controllers. In audio from the latest crash, a controller can be heard saying, "I messed up."
They're going to look at the workload
how long that controller had been on duty, his past history.
Meanwhile, this afternoon, LaGuardia reopened and flights began resuming. But passengers headed to the States are still being advised to check on their flight status before heading to the airport. John Benavalli-Rouse, CTV News, Toronto.
A new Auditor General's report reveals federal reforms to the international student program fell short.
And that meant only a small number of problematic cases were flagged in recent years. CTV's Abigail Beeman has the details.
Canada's Auditor General says integrity falls short when it comes to the government's revamp of the international student program.
What's concerning for me is that the department isn't acting on the information that it has.
The report found schools flagged more than 153,000 potential red flag students to the government over 2 years, but the Immigration Department only investigated just over 4,000. And when 41% of flagged students didn't respond to the government, the investigation seemed to end there.
We will definitely do better, and we will be more consistent.
Overall, a cap on international students worked to drop the numbers. The audit found they dropped much more than expected. This graph shows the projected number of new study permits for 2024 and 2025, and the total actually approved up until September. Separately, the audit found 800 cases where applicants had either used fraudulent information or misrepresented themselves. Most went on to apply for other immigration permits in Canada, and more than half of those were approved.
We will be centralizing the investigation. We will be streamlining anyone that is flagged. We will be doing more reporting, and we will be information sharing with CBSA.
But the minister wouldn't say how many more investigations would be possible.
We've brought too many people into the country too fast for housing, healthcare, jobs to keep up. That has lowered public acceptance for immigration, and frankly, it's just a giant dumpster fire.
The immigration minister also said the report only captures the first 18 months of what is a multi-year reform. The Conservatives call that an illusion and say nothing has changed. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
And the Auditor General tabled two other reports today. One says RCMP staff shortages worsened after officials got it wrong in assessing their recruitment needs. Karen Hogan insists without fundamental changes, the Mounties will not be able to hire enough new officers to meet operational demand. And the chronic shortages mean frontline officers face a higher potential for absences and burnout. The third report found the federal government is running out of time to clear the backlog of public service pay transactions under the old error-prone system. A new platform is expected by 2031.
The House of Commons resumed sitting today following March break, and MPs picked up right where they left off, sparring over a number of issues, including one of great importance to a lot of Canadians.
Even this Liberal government can sugarcoat the findings in the most recent jobs report. It revealed the largest collapse in full-time jobs since COVID, over 100,000 jobs lost, and a youth unemployment rate of 14% now. TD called it weak, CIBC called it very bad, and BMO called it simply brutal. But it's more than just words. It's empty bank accounts, it's skipped meals, and it's fleeting hope.
It is shameful to see the Conservative talking down the Canadian economy. Canadians are proud people, Mr. Speaker. We have the most educated workforce in the world, Mr. Speaker. We build ships, we build cars, we build planes. We have critical minerals, we have energy. We are the only G7 country which have a trade agreement with all the other G7 nations.
The Conservatives called on the government to adopt their jobs plan. Prime Minister Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre were not there today. Both are returning to Ottawa following trips outside the country.
In the Middle East, all Canadian soldiers and civilians are safe after a missile was intercepted near the Israel-Lebanon border. The attack happened yesterday, causing damage at a camp housing a United Nations interim force. Meanwhile, the U.S. has extended a deadline for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
They want peace. They've agreed they will not have a nuclear weapon, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll see. You have to get it done. But I would say there's a very good chance. And it began when I said that I won't be. We were planning tomorrow on shooting down some of their power plants, and we're going to hold that up. Hopefully we won't have to do it, and hopefully we can make a deal that's good for all of us.
The U.S. president says strikes on Iranian power plants will be postponed for 5 more days. Donald Trump insists American envoys have been talking with a respected Iranian leader, but Tehran denies negotiations have taken place. Trump also says his country will try to retrieve Iran's enriched uranium and end its nuclear program as part of the deal. One of the most significant constitutional battles in decades has begun at Canada's Supreme Court.
It's focused on Quebec's Bill 21, which enforces secularism in the public service. CTV's Mike LaGuardia sets the stage for the historic hearing and what it means.
It's not just a piece of cloth. It's my conviction.
For Naveen Wally, this legal fight is personal. The Muslim woman can't pursue her dream of teaching in Quebec because Bill 21 prevents civil servants like teachers from wearing religious symbols. She's even been told she can't volunteer at her daughter's school.
Because of my hijab, they consider this a religious symbol. And it really affected me. I was angry, I'm upset, I'm sad.
Hundreds demonstrated outside the Supreme Court as hearings began on the constitutionality of Quebec's secularism law.
Is not the purpose of this law clearly to put in place a separation of church and state?
That may have been the purpose, but opponents argue there's an impact on the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
It matters because it was always intended to protect minorities from the tyranny of the majority.
There's also concern about the preemptive use of the notwithstanding clause. The section of the Charter allows provinces to temporarily override certain freedoms. Quebec used it for Bill 21, and other provinces have looked to use that legislative tool. The leader of the Bloc Québécois says the clause is the last line of defense for provincial lawmakers.
If we lose that, people will have to ask themselves if there is any other opportunity to protect what they are and to promote what they are, but independence.
For Wally, it's about the personal independence and freedom.
This is for everybody, and this is going to affect generations to come.
The Supreme Court has set aside 4 days of hearings for the 51 interveners in this case, and it's expected to take several months before its decision is rendered. Mike LaGuardia, CTV News, Ottawa.
From one type of court to another, the future of a public racket club in Midtown is up in the air tonight after the city served up notice of a $500,000 tax hike.
And CTV's Natalie Johnson reports council will this week consider whether to keep the community courts in the game.
We have our pro shop check-in retail zone there. 2 full-size paddle courts.
The nets aren't yet up for the season, but in better weather, these outdoor racket courts have been a smash.
People laughing, people sweating, enjoying themselves. It's a vibe.
The Fairgrounds Racket Club temporarily took over this Midtown site in 2024, what was an empty lot slated for development.
It was this or a boarded up, slab of concrete.
Transforming the sealed-off space at Yonge and Rose Hill into public pickleball and paddle courts, a community amenity.
It's a lot about bringing some color and some aesthetics and places for people to sit and hang out.
But just weeks before these courts are slated to open for the season, the Racket Club has been hit with a big bill, a $500,000 annual increase to its property tax since the site has been reclassified from residential to commercial.
There are development sites across Toronto that are sitting empty because the market is stalled and developers are not putting shovels in the ground.
They get boarded up and no one has access to them, and so it can be a bit of an eyesore at that sense. So actually bringing some activation does a few things. So aesthetically, it's great to actually see some life and some color there, but also actually be able to provide a space where people can come and access and use it and get active.
The group is calling on City Hall to consider creating a new property tax subclass for interim use. That would apply to lands in transition like this that are temporarily hosting a public or community space.
We have a number of sites that are sitting like derelict eyesores waiting for development to actually get underway, but sometimes that takes months, if not years. So in the interim, there should be a realistic way for pickleball courts and other types of animation to happen without it being taxed out of existence by MPAC.
Councillor Josh Matlow was calling on council to come up with a fix, like exempting interim activations from commercial classifications or providing city grants to offset the tax hike.
Considering it exists already, I think there should be a way for it to continue.
The city telling CTV News in a statement that creating a new tax subclass would require provincial approval, but providing city grants to offset the hike, quote, may warrant further discussion with City Planning Division. However, this would require careful consideration of financial impacts and alignment with existing policies. The company behind the court says a $500,000 tax hike would force them to board this site back up.
We either take down the courts and take it back to a vacant lot, or we find some path forward.
Saying the ball is now in the city's court. Natalie Johnson, CTV News.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, more Canadians are watching movies and TV shows using streaming services, but like many things, prices have gone up. It's why more viewers are choosing to watch content with ads to save money. I love that story. That's just ahead.
Well, we are expecting some sunshine tomorrow morning, but hopefully you haven't put the warm jacket away quite yet. -6 degrees is what you are going to encounter if you're an early riser, feeling more like -8. Little bump in temperature coming for Thursday. Just don't get too used to that. We will be back near the freezing mark for Friday and possibly into the early part of the weekend. A detailed look at your 7-day forecast is coming up. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Next year, Netflix will have been streaming content for 20 years, and now there are many other popular services like Amazon Prime, Crave, and Disney+.
A new survey finds households that pay for streaming average nearly 3 subscriptions each, but how much they cost is a growing concern. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. A survey called the Couch Potato Report found that streaming is becoming more popular, but it's also getting more expensive. It's why some viewers are now trying to save money by watching shows and movies with commercials. Streaming price hikes have become so common they've earned a nickname, Streamflation. Rising fees can add up quickly, especially if you have multiple services.
I have about 5. It has gone up, and we try to keep a budget.
If you don't keep track, you may not know how much you're spending each month.
I have to look at my bill, so don't know yet.
According to the Couch Potato Report, there are 55 streaming services in Canada, and last year revenue increased 15% to $4.8 billion. This year, the revenue forecast is 11.5% growth, with expected revenue of $5.35 billion. Consumer Reports' Jim Wilcox was shocked when he checked his statements and found he was paying about $1,000 a year for TV services.
The cost has really creeped up on a lot of people, and it's probably one reason that a lot of people don't understand how much they're really paying.
The top 10 providers hiked prices last year by an average of 7%. It's why more Canadians are now streaming services with ads, as it costs 42% less. If you're willing to watch commercials, consider switching to a lower-priced ad-supported tier available on many streaming services. To save money, you can also check your subscriptions, your apps and credit card bills, and cancel services you aren't using. There are also free streaming options such as Pluto and Tubi. Crave, which is owned by Bell Media, the parent company of CTV, saw a 26% increase over last year, due in part to programs like Heated Rivalry. If there are shows you can't afford to miss, Wilcox says you can also consider a strategy called service hopping.
You sign up for a service, you binge everything you can for a month or so, and then cancel that service and then jump to another one.
You may want to put a reminder on your phone to cancel the service so you're not paying after your binge is over. For many households, streaming is the new normal, and those that pay for streaming services have an average of almost 3 subscriptions each. And one of the main things viewers liked about streaming in the beginning is that there were no commercials. But as consumers try to control their spending, they're willing to sit through them to try and save some money. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
We've been seeing some flurries today and definitely a wind chill to be aware of tonight. But I think if you look at the week ahead, there's a lot to like. There's sunshine and some decent temperatures at times.
Yeah, we are gradually getting there, but I am concerned about tomorrow morning. It's going to be kind of chilly.
It's going to be kind of chilly,
Yeah.
but I also think we're going to enjoy some sunshine tomorrow morning. So, I mean, there's a trade-off to be had here over the next week. The day that we're going to be quite mild, we're likely to get some rain. So pick your poison, if you will. Let me show you what it looked like earlier today. It was like a snow globe out there, depending on what time you were venturing outside or looking out your window. Big burst of flurries making their way through the GTA. Didn't amount to a whole lot in the way of accumulation. You may notice there, starting to accumulate on grassy surfaces, but melting on contact for sidewalks and roads. That's some good news. We're starting to see the pavement become a little bit warmer, but yes, there was reduced visibility. We've had pretty breezy winds out of the north today. That also contributed to it feeling a little below seasonal today, and it was. We should be reaching highs of around 7 degrees this time of year. Just wanted to show you a snapshot of North America. It is still very hot in the southern United States. Not record-breaking temperatures anymore like much of last week, but still warm, and temperatures are fairly seasonal across the west, but we are cooler than normal in most parts of Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada. It's 0 degrees right now at Pearson Airport. Again, 7 is now our seasonal norm. Yesterday, we made it to 5 degrees. Just want to point out Moosonee, Ontario, which was minus 30 degrees early this morning and had about a 30-degree warm-up through this afternoon. So that's an improvement. We will be below freezing tonight, but not that cold. -6 is what we're forecasting. Wind chill going to make it feel into the minus teens if you're joining us from Waterloo, Orillia, Peterborough, into the minus double digits around Niagara Falls. Waking up tomorrow morning likely to feel near -8, -9 in Toronto. And then we have a pretty nice afternoon. +5 is the forecast daytime high. Still a hair below seasonal. In fact, just about everyone is still slightly cooler than normal, but we will enjoy some sunshine, at least for the morning hours, and then the cloud cover is going to start to build back in for the afternoon and for the early part of the evening. So here's our current satellite and radar. Still seeing some flurries in many areas. These are going to taper off as we progress through the evening hours tonight. By the overnight, we push out the cloud cover as well. High pressure will be at play for at least part of your Tuesday, and then again, we will see that increase in cloud cover. Let me pause this around 9 a.m. tomorrow. Cloud cover still well off to the northwest, but look what happens in the afternoon. We get some cloud. Communities to the east of Georgian Bay and sections of eastern Ontario are going to get a couple of centimeters of snow, maybe around 3 to 5 centimeters for Muskoka, for example. And then heading into Wednesday night, we get into a few rain showers. At this point, Thursday is looking a little unsettled too, but that's also our mild day. So up around 12 for the high, dipping below freezing as we make our way into the nighttime hours. And then Friday, we're going to struggle to make it to 1 degree. So hovering close to freezing once again, but at least we expect to enjoy mainly sunny skies. That's your look at the weather. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Also tonight, the economic challenges faced by women and people of color for access to prescription drugs. The calls for equity coming up. Access to prescription medication should be equal for everyone in this country, but a new study shows a startling disparity.
And as CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan tells us, that means differences in health outcomes down the road.
You know, in Canada, we often say that healthcare is free. Well, you can go and see your doctor 10,000 times. But if you're not going to be able to adhere to what your doctor has told you, then we can see maybe these are some of the pathways towards strong disparities in health outcomes of Black people.
And researcher Bukola Salami says that can include cardiovascular diseases, cancers, diabetes, and even mortality. The study took data from the Canadian Community Health Survey over several years, starting in 2015. A total of more than 181,000 Canadians over age 18 were looked at, including almost 3,000 Black Canadians and 178,000 white participants.
What we found is that Black people were less likely to have a prescription, prescription drug coverage, and that even after we accounted for prescription drug coverage, age, gender, and several of other factors, they were still less likely to fill a prescription because they did not have the financial means to do so.
U.S. research has shown similar trends.
One of the things we found is that females were also less likely to fill a prescription than males. Because of cost.
And even when cost was a factor for both groups,
Black people were more likely to not fill the prescription at all. White people were more likely to skip doses.
The study authors are calling for more equity-based pharmacare coverage and further research to better understand these discrepancies. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
With kids back in school following March break, Toronto police have launched a school zone safety campaign.
Our parking enforcement officers want to ensure that motorists are not creating any unnecessary risk with the children and pedestrians returning back to school. Now, we are urging motorists to slow down, give yourself plenty of time for pickups and drop-offs, and always prioritize safety over convenience.
This week-long initiative is focused on improving safety in school zones. Police are going to be on the lookout for drivers who park illegally near schools. They will also be paying special attention to no stopping and no parking zones, crosswalks, and school bus loading areas. The campaign runs through Friday.
A Canadian superstar is returning to the stage in the fall, but you'll have to cross the Atlantic Ocean to see her. Celine Dion posted photos of herself in Paris on Instagram. There are also posters across the French capital featuring some of her iconic songs. Dion is planning 2 concerts each week in September and October. They'll be her first full shows in more than 5 years. Dion performed a song during the 2024 Paris Olympics and made a surprise video appearance at Eurovision in 2025. She had to cancel her Las Vegas residency dates in 2021 for health reasons.
Meantime, the biggest band in K-pop is the focus of a new documentary premiering Friday.
사실 그 BTS라는 팀 자체가 그런 것 같은데 되게 멋진 왕관, 큰 왕관.
BTS, The Return, offers an intimate look at the group's journey to their latest album and also traces how the 7 members got reacquainted with being global superstars after completing mandatory military service in their native South Korea. The documentary will be broadcast on Netflix.
After the break, extra bases for the Blue Jays leadership team. Manager John Schneider and GM Ross Atkins signed multi-year contract extensions. Details on deck.
North American markets rebounded today after the U.S. president said Washington has talked to Iran about a possible end to the war. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
The news sent the price of oil into free fall after 3 weeks of climbing higher. At the start of the day, West Texas Intermediate sank more than $10 U.S. a barrel. Energy stocks have been spiking with the key oil shipping route paralyzed by the conflict. Donald Trump says he will postpone hitting Iran's energy infrastructure for 5 days to allow for negotiations. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.86. West Texas Intermediate dropped over $10 to 88.13. Western Canadian Select is up to 81.91. And the TSX gained 566 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
The Raptors will be looking to bounce back when they take on an undermanned Utah Jazz team tonight.
Good job by Scotty. Lead pass RJ. RJ goes right to the rim on the attack.
The Raps are coming off a 120-98 loss to the Phoenix Suns last night. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Jazz is set for just after 9 Eastern time in Salt Lake City. The Raptors currently sit in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Most of Utah's starters are out with injuries.
The Blue Jays have announced contract extensions for both their manager and general manager. Today, the team has agreed to a 2-year contract extension with manager John Schneider, which runs through to the end of the 2028 season. Since taking over in 2022, Schneider has won 303 games as the Jays manager, the 4th highest total in the club's history. Meanwhile, the team has also agreed to a 5-year contract extension with general manager Ross Atkins. That deal runs through the end of the 2031 season. During Atkins' Cannon's 10-year tenure as GM. The Jays have made the playoffs 5 times, including appearing in the World Series for the first time in 32 years.
An emerging Canadian tennis star is advancing at the Miami Open. Victoria Mboko earned a 4th-round win over Mira Andreeva today. The former Toronto resident had 6 aces during the 2-hour, 17-minute match. The tournament's 10th seed will take on Czechia's Karolina Muchova in the quarterfinals tomorrow. In men's action, Felix Auger-Aliassime was ousted in the 3rd round. The 7th seed from Montreal had 11 aces, but his French opponent won 3 straight games to break a 2-2 tie in the final set before sealing the deal 2 games later.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Well, it is a chilly evening. Oh, it's so nice to see daylight behind us.
Oh.
Is that live right now? Wow, you forget that it's light at this time. We have the cold, but the good news is that this week is not fully cold. This is kind of a blip.
You're right. We're going to gradually warm up as the week goes on, and it's true. When we work on a 6 p.m. newscast, we really have a timestamp to see the days getting longer. So we're celebrating that. Lovely to see the sunshine out there right now. Let's take one more look at what you need to know weather-wise over the next couple of days here. We will continue to see flurries isolated in some areas for this evening. That tapers off tonight. The winds settle down and the cloud clears out, as it's already doing. Tomorrow morning, mix of sun and cloud. 5 degrees is what we're forecasting. This is the school day forecast. I know the kids are back in class after what was hopefully a wonderful March break. You'll need the warm jacket for the morning hours. Maybe not quite for the afternoon, but of course you want to make sure the same jacket comes home. By Thursday, it's a rain jacket with a high of 12. Nathan and Michelle.
Thanks, Lindsay. That's it for us, but be sure to join Omar Sachedina tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Alman with your next local newscast at 11:30.
Meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here at CTV News, thanks for watching and have a great night.